I grew up in city of El Paso, Texas. My childhood memories revolve around my best friend. We were basically the same soul in two bodies, growing up together in a place filled with warmth and vibrant energy. Our paths crossed on the elementary school football field, where Richie's remarkable speed and charismatic presence made him the talk of the town. He was not only the fastest runner in school, but also a genuinely cool kid to be around. El Paso, with its breathtaking landscapes and a vibrant blend of cultures, provided an idyllic backdrop for our young adventures. The city embraced us with open arms, its sun-kissed streets and the majestic Franklin Mountains serving as the guardians of our childhood dreams. We spent countless hours playing football, our laughter and cheers echoing through the neighborhood as we reveled in the joy of our shared passion. While El Paso was a beautiful place to call home, it wasn't immune to the hardships faced by some families. Richie's household was marked by poverty, and his father's aggressive demeanor cast a shadow over their humble abode. But despite these challenges, Richie remained a beacon of positivity, his infectious happiness and carefree spirit unwavering. The struggles of his family didn't seem to faze him. He was content, finding solace in our friendship and the simple joys of life. Our adventures extended beyond the football field, with fishing trips becoming cherished moments of respite. El Paso's serene lakes and rivers provided us with a sanctuary away from the cares of the world. The stillness of the water mirrored our contemplative silence, while the rustling of leaves and the gentle lapping of waves formed nature's symphony. We would cast our lines, sharing stories and dreams as we waited patiently for the fish to bite. Those were the days of unadulterated bliss, bound together by the beauty of our surroundings and the deep bond we shared. However, our carefree existence took an unsettling turn when Richie began speaking of his cousin Miguel, who had recently returned from the Vietnam War. He claimed that Miguel had taught him military practices that could cause harm to others. Intrigued by his cousin's stories and fascinated by the world of combat, Richie's focus began to shift. Conversations revolved around Miguel, and it seemed impossible to start a discussion without Richie steering it back to his cousin's influence. I once met Miguel, and he seemed as a cool person at first, but some of his stories and the way he behaved towards his wife was just not right. As the weeks turned into months, Richie's infatuation with Miguel only intensified. It was as if he had become consumed by this newfound fascination, leaving little room for anything else. Our once strong friendship started to wither under the weight of Richie's fixation, and the breaking point came when we were both 12 years old. One day, Richie showed me a disturbing photograph that he had stolen from Miguel. It depicted the mutilated body of a Vietnamese woman, a haunting image that sent shivers down my spine. While I recoiled in horror, Richie looked on with a twisted sense of amusement. It was a moment of profound unease, a realization that something within him had shifted. Our paths diverged from that day forward as Richie's interests grew increasingly darker and his attention fixated solely on Miguel. The transition to high school marked a turning point in our friendship. While we both attended Jefferson High, our interactions became limited to occasional nods of acknowledgement as we passed each other in the school hallways. I sought solace in new friendships that aligned with my own interests and values, while Richie retreated further into himself. He underwent a profound transformation, losing weight and letting his once cropped hair grow long, his appearance mirroring the turmoil within. One chilling night as I made my way home, a voice called out my name from the local cemetery. Though the source of the voice should have evoked fear, it didn't, because the voice was familiar. I turned to face the direction of the sound, only to find Richie standing amidst the tombstones, waving at me with a grin. It was a sight that shook me, the same grin he had as when he would show me macabre photos he had once took from Miguel. His expression held a mix of joy and an unsettling sense of intoxication. I slowly waved back, a sense of unease settling deep within me, and continued on my way, wondering if he slept among the graves. As the high school years progressed, I saw less and less of Richie within the school's walls. His presence seemed to fade away, like a ghost haunting the hallways of our shared memories. Then, after not seeing him for over a month, an obligation compelled me to visit his house once again, to see if there was any way I could help him reclaim the life he had lost. Despite his unrecognizable appearance, he had been my friend once, and I couldn't abandon him in his darkest hour. I arrived at his house to find him sitting alone on the sofa, his gaze fixed on the darkened television screen. Empty bottles and glass pipes cluttered the table, reflecting the chaos that had enveloped his life. I mustered up the courage to approach him, my voice trembling as I asked, "Hey Richie, what's been going on with you?" For a few seconds he remained silent, his eyes seemingly vacant. Slowly, his gaze shifted towards me, and with a blank expression he replied, "Hey." The disarray in his surroundings mirrored the state of his mind, and I felt an overwhelming sense of helplessness. I tried to break through the darkness, suggesting that we hang out or play a game of football like we used to, hoping to reborn the flame of our friendship. But Richie looked at me with vacant eyes and said, "You remember Miguel? They took him away a few weeks ago after he shot his wife. I was there. I saw it." A faint smile started to creep across his face as he spoke. On a few occasions, I felt uncomfortable around Richie in the past, but this was the first time that I felt genuinely scared. He is gone, I thought to myself. Understanding that there was no saving my once best friend, I told him, "Okay, Richie, if you ever want to hang out, give me a call." I left his house broken and terrified, knowing that I had witnessed the irreversible decline of a soul. Years passed, and life moved forward. I pursued my studies in biology at the University of Austin, immersing myself in the pursuit of knowledge and personal growth. Those university years became a crucible of life lessons, shaping my mind and expanding my horizon. I found solace in the knowledge that I had moved on from the darkness that had consumed my childhood friend. After graduation, I secured a job in Austin within my field of study, and a sense of contentment fulfilled me. But between the everyday routines and triumphs, there was one day that would forever remain stuck in my mind. I arrived home from work, sank into the comfort of my sofa, and turned on the television. The breaking news flashed across the screen.
Police in Los Angeles believe they have their man. Richard Ramirez arrested today after being held by an angry crowd. Police believe Ramirez is the walk-in killer, or a so-called night stalker, who has terrorized California, committing at least 16 murders there recently.
Numbness engulfed me as I stared at the screen long after the news report concluded. My body felt paralyzed while my mind raced back to our shared childhood memories. Then the floodgates opened. The emotions crushed me down and tears flowed freely. The realization struck with full force. The infamous Night Stalker, the perpetrator of heinous crimes, was none other than my best friend, Richie. How had it come to this? How had the bright, energetic young boy I once knew descended into personification of death? In the months that followed, I couldn't stop blaming myself and kept going back to that day I gave him a visit during our high school years. Did I leave his house too soon? Was there something more I could have done or say? Those questions haunt me even today. Returning to El Paso to visit my parents became a bittersweet experience. Today, after so many years, when I go and visit my parents in El Paso, every time I walk past Richie's house, our school, and the lakes where we used to go fishing as kids, I remember those innocent times. Regardless of his crimes, which were too gruesome, the infamous Night Stalker for me will always be Richie.